And for the last handful of years, Bryce Hall have built a great foundation to that, along with all of our partner racetracks. And I've been blessed to be a part of it this year. And, again, trying to continue what Bryce has done along with Todd and take care of those promoters.
70 O'Reilly Auto Parts USRA stock cars made their way to Lucas Oil Speedway. We have finally whittled it down. It took a little while, but we've got 32 set to make the start. Look at your grid. We'll shape up this way for their 40-lap main event. Josh Kane on the pole. He not only won a feature earlier on, but he also won over the go-kart track. That gives him P1 on the inside out of Rio Rancho, New Mexico. Derek Green sits number 1 in the point standings here for the USRA stock cars. He is out of Minnesota in the number 32, and Miles McHale from Fort Dodge, Iowa will start outside row 1.
Starting on the inside of row number 2 from Orcutt, California, the 38T is Dylan Thornton. Middle row is the Tularosa, New Mexico driver of Brian Bennett in 10B to his outside from Lebanon, Missouri. Car number 5 is Brian White.
Mitch Keeter with 12 wins on the season out of Webb City starts inside row 3. Dean Willie in the middle, and Pat Graham out of Iowa in the 1G will start in 9th.
Stacking them 3 wide on the inside of row number 4 from Lebanon, Missouri. The number 7, that is William Garner to the middle part of the row from Fort Gibson, Oklahoma. The 106 is Andy Morris, and to the outside of row number 4 from Smithfield, Missouri. That's the 222 of Jake Newman.
Mitch Hovden won a championship in a hobby stock class back in 07. He's out of Decorah, Iowa, starting inside row 5. Jalen Wettengell in the middle. And Gerald Wawasuk out of Atchison, Kansas in the 11W, starting in 15th.
Starting on the inside of row number 6 from Atchison, Kansas, the 16S, that's Chris DeShong. In the middle part of that row from Urbana, Missouri, the 0 is Mason Beck, and to the outside, another Atchison, Kansas native in the 11W, it's Gerald Wawasuk.
Ed Griggs, Rob Mosley, and Kevin Dolan. These are all the cars that had to come through the alphabet. They will all start back 19th, 20th, and 21st.
Row 8 going to go to Randy Brown, Jason Joslin, and Waylon Dimmitt.
And then the rest of your cast of characters all making their way up through the B main to make their way into the feature 40 times around for the Ozark Golf Cars USRA B mods. That voice you hear, we've had a little change over here to my left. It's been Brian Dinikas for the first 3, but we wanted to bring Eric Chesterman in. He's the voice of the United States Modified Touring Series. They will run the final nightcap, but he comes in just a touch early to call the stock cars. We're going to go from one end of the spectrum to the other. This is one of the more entertaining full-fendered classes you are going to find anywhere across the Midwest. They put on a great show anytime they come here to the Diamond Dirt Tracks.
You know, Shane, personally, I grew up a dyed-in-the-wool open-wheel fan, have fallen in love with the modifieds. Of course, follow the USMTS Tour around. But, man, any chance I get to watch these USRA stock cars, an absolute show every single time.
Bill Robert Chevrolet Pace Truck will stay out for at least one more turn as they come down the front stretch to make sure they do have everybody out on the track. With these stock cars, same thing as what they did for the B mods. They had their preliminary races for 3 nights. If you won any of the 9 features, you're going to be on the front 3 rows. If you came in second in any of the 9 features, you're going to be on rows 4 through 6. Everybody else made their way in either through passing points, through recalculation, or through the alphabet soup that started with this class all the way down in the E's. The B mod started with an F feature. Stock cars started with an E. It tells you how many races we have had and how much this track has been used and abused today and this entire weekend.
I don't know if abused is the right word. The track crew has had this place in phenomenal shape all night long. Like you said, minimal prep throughout the night to keep this thing in racing shape, and we're ready for 40 laps here with the USRA stock cars as the fireworks go off. These guys getting ready to rock and roll.
Bill Robert Chevrolet Pace Truck goes to the high side over in turns 1 and 2, and we get stacked nice and tight as we get ready for these stock cars to fire away and get back to racing action here at Lucas Oil Speedway. It's been a great show all weekend long. This is not going to disappoint either. Front row, it's Josh Kane, Derek Green, Miles McHale, fired off of turn 4, Green in the air, and we're back at it at the Diamond Dirt Tracks.
Field files off through turns 1 and 2, everybody fighting for position. Kane and Green out in front as they roll through turn number 4, off of turn 4. Your leader, lap number 1, Too close to call it the line.
How about 0.002 seconds? The lead Derek Green had over Josh Kane. So Green had the lead, but Kane comes storming back to the inside, and Dylan Thornton back behind him in the 38T. We had Dylan come up to the booth earlier on through the week. He gave some guest commentary, and that's a driver you know all too well because he runs in the USMTS with you.
He does, runs a lot of stock car events as well. I believe he won the IMC Nationals at Boone Speedway a little bit earlier this season, defending USRA National Champion, and right now he's got that 38T cowboy up left front off the carpet back into 1 and 2.
Derek Green, lap by lap, has just barely had a nose out in front of Josh Kane. Josh might get the better of him this time off of turn 2 as he's able to clear him cleanly. Goes to the middle of the track, and this shows how racy this track is, where Dylan Thornton's able to make speed on the bottom. Derek Green likes it on the top, and oh, by the way, Josh Kane likes it in the middle, but nobody likes it in on the grass. The 222 spins out. Jake Newman out of Smithville, Missouri, and also involved in that's the 33, that is Kevin Donlin. He is out of Decorah, Iowa. The man that sits number 8 in the USRA national standings. Also involved in that, got a piece of it as the caution comes out. So a couple cars get involved in an incident after 4 laps have been completed of the 40. Josh Kane had grabbed the lead over Derek Green. The spin came out. The 222 was involved in that. The 33 of Kevin Donlin as well. Another peek at what happened as a car way up in front got sideways. Mason Beck comes in, and everybody else just trying to take evasive maneuvers. So we'll take another peek at who all was involved in that. Again, it started way up in the front. Started by the 15, a little bit of contact with Crimmins in the 35. He stayed straight. Mason Beck goes to the inside. Ed Griggs able to peel off. The car that really had to go in reverse was the 222. So much going on with this incident, but everybody really kept going. Didn't see hardly anybody stop with the exception of Kevin Donlin, maybe. So everybody else was able to motor on. Yeah, there's Donlin who stopped up on the top of the track.
Yeah, unfortunately, Donlin got a little bit of piece of the wall, so we'll keep an eye on the 33 from the back of the field to see if that's going to affect his race.
So as the caution is out, they will get stacked and packed behind Josh Kane. And you always love whenever somebody has a really good run throughout the evening, but then you also hate it whenever they go back to the tech barn and something happens and things go awry. And it happened for Dylan Clinton. Goes through the tech barn, something illegal and a disqualification for your current point leader. And he will go all the way back to dead last after the disqualification. And Chris Hovden now will win in the USRA Hobby Stocks. That should be enough to put him atop the point standings nationally as well. Congratulations goes to Chris Hovden. It's Josh Kane in the 3, front row all to his own. Dylan Thornton to the inside. Derek Green to the outside of row number 2. Green back in the air. 4 laps down, 36 laps to go.
Immediately, Dylan Thornton going to challenge Green for the second spot, side by side. Off of turn 2 down the back straightaway. Green a ledge ahead, trying to flank to the right side. of the 3 of Kane. Off at turn number 4, Kane too strong. He'll hold the lead. Thornton now takes over the second spot, back into 1 and 2.
Tight battle back between Dylan Thornton and Derek Green. They're not really close on the track at all because they're too far to the left and too far to the right, but timing and scoring wise, there's only 0.08 seconds between the two. A tight battle for second as Josh Kane continues to spread his wings. He's now out by half a second over Derek Green.
Green back to the bottom side of the speedway now. Thornton's the one on top. Thornton has a good momentum down the back straightaway. He'll edge out in front of the 32. Green not giving up the fight on the bottom part of the speedway. Down the front straightaway, Thornton half the car length out in front of the 32. The battle for the second spot, a good one. Don't look now, though. Here comes Brian White. This is quickly becoming a 3-car race.
Past champion here at Lucas Oil Speedway and Brian White. This is actually his dad's old car. Rob White Jr. was the pilot of this number 5. He has now handed the keys over to the past champion who won here back in 2022. He rides along in fourth. Josh Kane, the Hurricane from Rio Rancho, New Mexico. Out in front by well over half a second, a 24-time winner this year. Where all did he win? Well, he won at Abilene, Vado, Sandia, Legacy, Alien. At Route 66, he won in a stock car, a late model, a modified, and a B-Mod.
White's taken over the third spot from Green. Green's had troubles the last couple of laps. Car looks like maybe it's not quite underneath him like he wants, and he's lost some ground now, obviously, to the 38T of Dylan Thornton. White's gotten by for third. Green quickly going to have his hands full here as the field rotates back into 1 and 2. The next man up, Miles McKell, trying to challenge for fourth.
And Derek Green's car starting to go away. You see the yellow light flash up on the screen. That means the Boone's Barbecue caution is out again. And this is over in turn number 4. Car slow on the track, and that is the 222 again after Jake Newman had to take evasive maneuvers and go to the infield on that first caution. He is the culprit of the second caution that comes out. We are 10 laps in, 40 laps the scheduled distance, and Josh Kane has led all 10 laps so far here at the Diamond of Dirt Tracks. Dylan Thornton runs in second, and Brian White is up to third.
You wonder if any of the issues for the 222 of Newman, remnants of the first incident earlier in the evening, left front flat, though. Not real sure exactly what caused that.
Trying to think of the contact and the issue that he had earlier. You would think if it was a flat tire at that point in time, it would not have waited until another 3 or 4 laps to finally go down. But that is his issue, so he will have to go back into the hot pit and see if maybe somebody can slap on a new left front.
Looking at one of our monitors up here in the booth, it looks like maybe a bent wheel on that 222. So would imagine probably a little bit heavier contact the second time around for the 222 of Jake Newman as he'll take it pit side, see if he can get that changed and make it back out onto the racing surface. If he does, a long way to go for that driver from the back of the field.
So Josh Kane, he is your leader. Dylan Thornton has chosen to go to the inside. Caution was brought out for Jake Newman. He is headed back to the pit with a flat left front. See if he might be able to get that fixed and back underway. Race control looks as though they're going to give a courtesy lap or two to allow Newman to get that taken care of. Dylan Thornton won the Nationals last year. He won every single race he competed in here at Lucas Oil Speedway in a stock car a season ago. The championship, however, went to Hovden. He has been dominant in the USRA in the stock car division, winning in 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 115, and 16. It's almost sick how good that guy is.
Yeah, when you think of USRA stock car racing, Hovden, obviously the name at the top of the board that immediately pops into mind, but that competition is closing in. Hovden has acknowledged that in the last couple of years. Points battles seem to be getting tighter and tighter. Although he manages to still climb out on top, the day's coming, and he's predicted it himself, the day's coming that Hovden's not going to be on the top of the board anymore. This year, though, looks to be the same.
9 total times he has won a stock car championship. He also won a hobby stock, just to mix that in, back in 07. Newman was able to get back out. Hello, Newman. He will go to the very tailback. Lights have been turned off, and the field is under the control of Josh Kane. Stacked and packed 2 wide in that Delaware double file restart. Thornton to the inside. Brian White to the outside. Green back in the air and back to full song for the stock cars.
Josh Kane once again leads the field around the bottom side of the speedway in 1 and 2. Caution comes back out once again. Top of turn 4, Jake Newman.
Well, may have a right front flat this time.
Yeah, poor Newman.
Tough break again for the 222. And that would be the second caution brought out.
And something broke on the right side. Yep, some definite issues on the right front.
So, that's a big issue. Oof. Whenever I talked to Jake down in the pit area, he says, you know what, right now we're just like everybody else. We're crunching it up and we're beating it out in regards to the fenders, the door panels. So much damage has been done on these cars, and this is the prime example. No exception at all, as Jake Newman has some issues over in turn 4, and then Christopher Sawyer, after the green came out, he has some issues over in turn number 1. 2 cars actually stopped over there.
So problems at opposite ends of the speedway now. Not a common thing where cautions develop during cautions.
Hobby Time Motorsports safety crew quickly there to take care of Jake Newman. And then Mark Simon was the other car, the 23, as he will get pushed to the infield. Started out the week with the number 1. Swapped that out for the number 23. He has no lack of cars just outside Buffalo, which is where he lives. I make that trip quite frequently, and he's got stock cars, late models, car haulers, all just sitting out in the front.
Guy's a race car driver. What do you expect? He's ready to go no matter what day of the week it is.
Jake Newman will get a tow all the way back to the pit area. His night is done. So Kane, Thornton, White, Derek Green, Miles McHale, your top 5. Derek Green was out in front early. He's dropped back to 5th. Correction, 4th, that is. Brian White marching through the field. He started in 6th. He's up to 3rd.
White definitely going to be one to keep an eye on. He is no stranger to the Lucas Oil Speedway. Has visited Victory Lane here many times. Going to refire from that first double file row as Kane brings us back to green.
Through 3 and 4, the safety crew just barely got off the track before the drop of the green again, and Josh Kane drops the loud pedal. Dylan Thornton stays down on the low side of the track. Ever since they came out and tilled the track back up, most of these stock cars staying down on the bottom side of the track. Nobody really getting up around the cushion. Deeper in the field they are, but for the most part, the top 10 cars all staying bottom groove or maybe 1 lane higher through both ends.
White tries to sneak to the left side of the 32 of Green, still trying to fight into the top 3 after Green took the spot back away on the restart. So far, not able to get that done. Behind him, a good little battle. Pat Graham right there in the 1, trying to see if he can sneak by Miles McHale. McHale inside the top 5. Graham trying to fight his way in. The field rifles down the back straightaway into turns 3 and 4.
Pat Graham, a 7-time track champion. Won it at Mason City, Hamilton County, along with some others. Picked up a win at Mason City. Matter of fact, he did that the week before he decided to come down to Lucas Oil Speedway for a couple of days show.
Graham dealing with the 15 of Hovden to his outside. Hovden, the first car on the top side of the speedway. You mentioned it, not very many of your front runners up there yet. Hovden trying it. He's going to select the top side of the racetrack back into 1 and 2. Graham Still around the bottom of the speedway. Hovden up top. So far, not able to make any ground, as Hovden still just a couple of spots outside of the top 5.
He's riding in 7th right now, just up in front of Graham. That is the 21 of the Missile, Miles McHale, a 4-time winner. Picked up 3 wins at Mason City this season. Or excuse me, 3 wins at Hamilton County, that is. Also picked up a win here last night. He was your preliminary feature winner for the Missile, Terminator chassis, Big John engine. An 8-time winner last year. He stays right in front of Pat Graham, and as you mentioned, it is Mitch Hovden, a 15-time winner this season. USRA champion last year with 13 wins. Continues to push the cushion well up at the top as Josh Kane continues to build his lead. He is now out by 1.7 seconds over Dylan Thornton.
Yellow flag waving. Problems on the racetrack again in turns 3 and 4. Appears to be the 85.
That is Smitty. Darren Schmidt from Winchester, Kansas, a winner on Thursday Night Thunder here at Lucas Oil Speedway, but not going to be able to win the night of the Nationals. Brings out the caution yet again. 17 laps have been completed. We've got 23 left to claim a Nationals champion here at Lucas Oil Speedway. Lights turned off again here at the Diamond and Dirt Track. Shane Freeby, Eric Chesterman with you. Brian Denikus was with us a little earlier on. Doug Neff is the man down in victory lane. And Josh Kane is the guy that's trying to find his way to chat with Doug Neff when this race is over, but it's a long way from being over. We haven't even reached the cross flags yet. And who is back up in the picture just when you think his night is starting to wind down? Derek Green comes to life. That 32 is back on the charge.
Green putting pressure on the 3 of Kane. Dylan Thornton hanging tough on the top side of the speedway as well. The 38T, your defending champion, on the top part of the racetrack, left front, hung way up in the air. Flanks to the right side of the 32. Now he'll drive down to the middle part of the racetrack. Opens up the exit of the corner while Green stays tiptoeing around the bottom of the racetrack. Kane, though, unfazed, continues to lead in 3.
Got a 4-car length advantage over Derek Green to the inside. Dylan Thornton using that modified line up on the top side, trying to use the tools he's learned all season long about how to find the grip up around the cushion. Now he dives down through 3 and 4. For Dylan Thornton, he was a great chat that we had earlier on this week whenever he came up and gave some guest analysis. A 12-time winner, and you mentioned just a second ago, he had back-to-back wins on some of the biggest stages as the Boone's Barbecue caution comes out again. This time it is for the 106 of Slammin' Andy Morris, the champion at Outlaw back in 2013. And he claimed the championship in the stock car division over at Arrowhead. Our good friend Bryce Hall taking over as the promoter there. So Slammin' Andy Morris brings out the caution in the 106.
guy that didn't want to see that caution. I really got to believe the 38T of Dylan Thornton had built momentum on the top side of the speedway, took over the second spot from Derek Green, looked like he had found the line that he wanted to run around this racetrack and was starting to try to mount a charge after the 3 of Kane. The good news, still 20 laps to go for the 38T to build that momentum again and see if he has anything for Kane in 3.
Go back to finish our comments about Dylan Thornton. You had mentioned some of the wins that he had this year. He had back-to-back wins on the biggest stage. He won the Super Nationals this season. Then the following week, he went to Deer Creek, ended up winning a $10,000 to win stock car race there. Said he really likes how he can compete in a stock car. Obviously, the modifieds have a little more luster, if you will, a little more accolades that go along with them. But it's almost gotten to the point, Eric, where if you can win $10,000 in a stock car race, used to, that was unheard of. Never happened. Makes for a nice little payday. He said he spent it already. It didn't take him long to empty out the pocket after winning 10 large.
Well, race cars will do that to you. $10,000 goes pretty quick with not one but 2 race cars in the garage.
And then I asked him, said, well, yeah, Uncle Sam got part of that as well. And he's like, oh, no, he didn't. And I'm like, hang on. He says, oh, yeah, I guess I probably will have to do that at the end of the Yeah, you better.
Yeah. Uncle Sam always gets his piece as the green flag waves and the yellow flag now waves again. So
I don't think he quite threw the green and the yellow at the same time, but they almost did, as the 12 of Christopher Sawyer involved in that. Also getting wadded up is the 35C of Bill Crimmins, and also the 3C. You see him leave the picture now. That is Colin Deming, who is running for Rookie of the Year standings and is number 4 in the USRA National Point standings.
Well, Shane,
big mess over there over on the restart.
Big mess on the restart. We just got another bit of news, a big mess back in the tech shed as well. They're dropping like flies back there.
It may be the day to finish second. We already talked about Dylan Clinton winning at the hobby stock class, getting DQ'd in the B mods. J.C. Morton disqualified. So the pilot of the number 18 that thought he had his second USRA Nationals victory, he ends up getting DQ'd in the A main for the B mods, and that will move Mitchell Franklin to the winning circle. He wins the USRA Nationals for 2023.
Well, Franklin, gentlemen, you said you mentioned earlier tonight, kind of had a tough year to start. Things have gotten a lot better for him as the year's gone on. A local here to the Lucas Oil Speedway, and he's going to keep the B-Mod title right here at the Diamond of Dirt Tracks.
Talked to Mitchell Franklin's dad, Josh, and he was like, yeah, I've had some issues through tech throughout the year. Also throughout this week, he's had a couple of little things going on with Mitchell Franklin's car, but he says, I'm guessing now he's just fine with how things are going in the tech barn. All of that on the restart of turn 4, bringing out the caution again. We have reached the midway point. 20 down, 20 to go.
Field has reassembled behind the 3 of Kane. Dylan Thornton choosing the top side of that first double file row. The second place car gets lane choice, while your leader starts out front by himself, does not have to worry about anybody at his door. Second place car gets lane choice. Everybody else files in from there. Kane, Thornton, Green. That's White and Hovden, your top 5 at the current moment in time.
trying to get everybody lined out deeper in the field, but I think they've got them set, and we're about ready to get back at it. So Josh Kane leads, 20 laps down, 20 laps to go. Dylan Thornton and Derek Green back behind him. Dylan Thornton chooses to go to the outside, Green to the inside. Josh Kane has survived some scares so far throughout the evening. He's held off all would-be challengers. Can he do it for the second half of the race? Whose car is going to come in? Who's going to find the momentum? As the green flag flies and Dylan Thornton takes a peek to the outside of Josh Kane, your race leader.
Thornton lets the 38 swing out wide down the front straightaway. Green still to his inside. Kane trying to race away from the pair of drivers battling over the second spot. Thornton hard to the top side of the racetrack, has good speed down the back straightaway. Drives to the bottom of turns 3 and 4 right on the right side of the 32 of Kane. Once again, swings out wide. Can't do anything with Kane, and Green now back to second.
Running in second right now with Thornton to the top side, Green to the inside, and right now Brian White is just kind of sitting there waiting to see what all shakes out in front of him, as the top 4 cars have really been the only true competitors in this so far. Saul Hovden starting to work his way towards the front, and he enters the picture. He's now up into the top 5, riding to the top side, trying to see what Dylan Thornton is doing. So Thornton in second, Green in third, Brian White sits back and forth. All of that, a battle for second.
Good battle for second brewing. Green now pulls in behind the 38 of Thornton as Thornton has taken it away once again using the top part of the racetrack. Again, we talked about it before the last caution. Thornton had built up momentum on the top part of the speedway. He looks like he's got it again, is now starting to inch away from Green. Going to reset the sights on the backside of the 3 as behind him 3 cars battling for third, fourth, and
now
fifth.
Brian White's going to get up into it. A little bit of a friendly tap on the back, just letting Derek Green know that he is there. And Dylan Thornton, while he was making hay up on the top side, he does it on one end of the track, the south side, over in turns 1 and 2. He really grips the lip up on the top, but whenever you get over to 3 and 4, he has found the brown dirt down at the bottom, and that's where the tacky stuff is, and he's found some grip down there.
Thornton has a friend coming with him in the 15 of Hovden. Hovden trying to challenge Green. Green still pestering the 38 down to the bottom of the racetrack in turns 3 and 4. Hovden up top. Those 3 battling over second. Green, he's found some momentum. Rolls back to the inside of the 38T. Problems for the 23.
Yeah, we stay green for right now. He is well off the racing surface. He is down on the grass. Question is he far enough in the infield? And so far, race officials say yes, he is. So he's going to stay buckled in that car as we continue to roll and turn laps. You mentioned the friend of Mitch Hovden up to the top side. I think that friend was getting a little too close for Dylan Thornton as he has stretched his legs out a little bit more and pulled away from Josh Kane. So Kane leads side by side. It's Thornton and Derek Green back in second. Mitch Hovden and Brian White sit back in 4th and 5th right now. Hovden to the top side. And Brian White, he has not budged from the bottom side of the racing surface. What can Brown do for you? Well, it finds speed down on the inside of the track.
Kane working that speed, both ends of the speedway in the 3. Big lead right now for the driver of car number 3 out front by nearly 2.5 seconds over the 38T of Dylan Thornton. Thornton now solidly in the second spot. Green hangs on to third. Behind him, Hovden and White side by side in a battle for 4th and 5th.
Josh Kane won his feature back on Wednesday. He had the opportunity to do absolutely nothing for 2 straight days. I think for a lot of drivers, they're happy to have that break because you see so many other competitors have to go out and straighten their cars out, beat some sheet metal just to be able to run the rest of the week. He had the opportunity to sit and cruise for 2 days and do absolutely nothing, just watch the action on the track. Started on the pole. He has led every single lap so far, but for the second time, Darren Schmidt will spin over in turn number 3. The 85 brings out the caution again. Josh Kane, 2.6 seconds was the lead he had over Dylan Thornton. It's going to be wiped away as it's Kane, Thornton, and Derek Green, your top three, down to 8 laps left for the stock cars. Jeff Tennant had gone into the hot pit. He's now back out. And they get stacked up back behind Josh Kane again. Side by side, getting ready for the restart. And the black flag will go to Darren Schmidt. That was his second spin. Hobby Time Motorsports safety crew gives a quick look at the front stretch, make sure there's no debris, and we'll be 1 lap away from getting back underway. Yellow light has been turned off. This has been all Josh Kane, and he would love to see no more cautions come out. Wants to keep Dylan Thornton and Derek Green back behind him. For the most part, it's been Josh Kane and Dylan Thornton all night long. Derek Green had dropped out of the picture momentarily, but he is now back in it for the final 8 laps.
Thornton going to try to say something about it, though. He gets a good run off of turn number 2. Green on his back bumper. Thornton will drop to the bottom side of turns 3 and 4. And obviously this is the closest Thornton's been all evening long. But Kane, having none of it, pulls away by 2 car lengths as they rotated back into 1 and 2.
About 6 cars all in your picture, all with a chance to win with 7 to go. Laps continue to wind down. As we hit the front stretch, it'll be 6 to go, and Josh Kane, a half a second lead over Dylan Thornton. Now Brian White is up into the top 3. Brian had started back in 6th, outside row number 2, and now he's looking at a podium finish. Can DT have anything left in the tank to try to catch up with Josh Kane? He's come close a couple of times, but every time he does, Josh Kane finds something left in the tank to make another run and get a little more distance. Time is running out for anybody running from second on back as this continues to be the Josh Kane show on a Saturday night.
Josh Kane really good off the bottom side of turn number 2. Anytime Dylan Thornton has closed in, Kane sets the car off the bottom of 2 and just pulls away from the 38T to put more distance between himself in second place.
But surprisingly, after Brian White got around Derek Green, he has now started to sprint out and start to reel in Dylan Thornton. That gap is getting shorter and shorter. The battle for second may be the battle to watch in our final 3 laps, as right now nobody's had anything for Josh Kane. You see Dylan Thornton as well as Brian White continue to run down to the bottom side of the track. Brian White in 1 and 2 anyway will stay on the bottom where Dylan Thornton continues to run to the top side.
White digging on the bottom of the racetrack trying to catch Thornton, but we got a problem in turn 4 once again. This time it's the 16 of Randy Brown. Out of Cowchilla, California. Sits backwards at the bottom side of turn 4. Steam and fluid pouring out from underneath the hood of that race car. So his night appears to be done for the driver of the 16B.
He came here to Lucas Oil Speedway earlier in the year, but it wasn't in a stock car. It was in a modified. Whenever he came in, a little bit of a fire flash underneath the front end of the 16. We've seen enough fire this week. Don't need to see any more. But whatever it was, he is now back underway.
Surprisingly enough, Brown rolling around the Lucas Oil Speedway. I'm surprised and kind of impressed, Shane. I would have thought his night would have been over. We'll have to see what happens here when he rejoins the tail of the field.
May have been just some water down on the track. It may not have been anything coming out from underneath the hood. It is extremely wet down there. So we are down to our final 2 laps. Josh Kane, if I'm not mistaken, has led 38 of the scheduled 40. Had built up a second advantage over Dylan Thornton. Try it again. With 38 down, green, white, checkered finish. Will Josh Kane stay with exactly how he has restarted all of these races? Will he try to do something different? Brian White is there with him to the inside. Gets a push from Derek Green. May get another push from Derek Green, and here comes Brian White to the inside. Dylan Thornton to the outside. Power move by DT. Up the track he goes. White flag in the air at the line. It's just barely Josh Kane over Dylan Thornton. A 100th of a second, and now DT, something breaks on the 34. He's stopped on the top side of turn number 2. That opens the door now for Hovden. Mitch Hovden up to second. Brian White falls back to third. Double checkers in the air, and Josh Kane, where he had just a nose advantage on the white flagged lap. Dylan Thornton cars brakes. Josh Kane is able to hang on for the win, and Mitch Hovden rallies for a second place finish over Brian White in third. You see the disgruntled Dylan Thornton, after a strong run, thought he had something for another Nationals championship, but he cannot make it back-to-back. It goes to Josh Kane. Mitch Hovden in second. Brian White